So this is some more Hatchhyack spice. Some cards that I'm looking into potentially using with Hatchhyack, especially these Shroom and Salsa cards. They're one drop. They have the swap and spirit boost mechanic, but that's not what we're using them for. We're using them for just their auto and the fact they're one drops. They both have the same auto, which is once per turn if you have 3 or less energy. When your opponent plays a battle card with an energy cost greater than their current energy, it can't attack. Double checking. Yeah, greater than their current energy, it can't attack for the turn. So this is good for, obviously any deck that likes to cheat things out. Obviously against stuff like Dark Broly, this will easily slow them down, especially in the first couple turns. So the way obviously to keep this effect in effect is to max out on charging 3 energy, because you gotta have 3 or less energy in order for this to apply. And with Hatchhyack, since you only need 3 energy to awaken, and if you keep your energy cost low, like your negates, right? Your floodgate negates, your blockers, or your battle cards, unisons, that kind of stuff, under 3 cost, it wouldn't be a problem just charging a maximum of 3 energy, just so you can keep this effect of these cards alive. So that way they can always be used. And the idea, obviously is that we want to be able to use this to slow our opponent down, especially if our opponent wants to cheat out some cards. A good use of this card would be for what is it called? You can use this as a side deck card. You don't have to main it, obviously. You play however way you want, but this would be good against like GT. I know some people say they have what is it called? There's somebody in the group said he has issues against he has trouble with Cell. So obviously this won't prevent Cell's effect capabilities, but this will help slow down your opponent's ability to attack in the turn in which they drop their 7-drop Cell, or let's say Cell Zeno through their card effects. So that's always good. Another good thing to help, especially if your opponent drops Cell Zeno, will be something it's a barrier blocker with Revenge. Here's one example of it. The other one is the 3-drop. Let's see if I have it. Yeah, well, might as well show you. Ooh, a little sneak peek into my Cell deck. But this one, Magicayo, the Shapeshifter, as you can see, he's a 3-drop 15k blocker Revenge with barrier. So I got him in my Hatchhyack deck. So this is just an older version of the card, because you see the stats are pretty much the same. The only difference is this is a 4-drop, but you could play for 2, but you got to warp 4 cards from your drop in order to play it out for 2 energy. While the Shapeshifter, you only got you pay 3 to play it. But it's a barrier blocker with Revenge, which comes in handy in case your opponent plays a problematic battle card on their turn, and you need some way of 1, blocking an attack, obviously, and 2, getting rid of the card in the process, and being able to ignore barrier, which Revenge does. So that's where you get into this situation of looking into these types of cards. But like I was saying, if you're going up against GT, this would be very useful. So yeah, like I said, GT, you're trying to Yeah, they because the thing about the GT deck is they have the 8-drop that they like to bring out, and then it has an active main where it could put itself back into the under the Unison as a way of protecting itself. So it makes it hard to get rid of it on your turn when it's not there, right? So you want to find a way to deal with it on your opponent's turn. And right now, one of the best ways is a revenge blocker. Another way of making it less problematic and is these cards, because notice that they do slow down your opponent's ability to. Obviously, your opponent can try to circumvent this effect, obviously, but this would be a way to prevent them from. Well, double check the effect when your opponent plays a battle card with an energy cost greater. Oh, that's good. So it's not when they play a battle card. And if it just so happens to be greater than their energy, then this will trigger. So, I mean, technically it works either way. You get my point. The point is, I mean, they could try to circumvent this by playing something that's 1 energy higher, then play their 8-drop. So they could play something that's like a 5-drop, for example, and then play the 8-drop. But you get the idea, because at least this can help you slow your opponent down from being able to attack with something, especially if it's something like Overwhelm or something similar to that. This would be obviously useful against Dark Broly, because until they get to turn 6, right? Until they have 6 energy, all their 6 drops will be automatically slowed down by this card. So this is definitely something I would definitely have used back in the day, or just in general in any deck. That's like a nice little defense against the Broly, right? This is is good against like Swap and obviously Union Fusion. I mean, there's tons of decks that this would be useful for. So obviously, it's a good idea to look into it. And it's black battle cards, so obviously we Hatchhyack players can use it. So that's why I'm pointing it out. And then the fact that we have both Salsa and Shroom, so we have at least 8 battle cards. So the likelihood of at least getting one of these is, on the field at any given time is highly likely. But we got to keep in mind we got to have 3 or less energy in order to get that effect off. This is an older card. This is a DB2 card. Draft box. But it's a good card. Shin, Noble Supremacy. I recently saw this card's image. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember finding this card a while back. And as an first auto, when you play the card, you draw cards, so that's always good. And then second auto is if you have 3 or less energy. Notice 3 or less energy. Notice a pattern there, right? When you play this card, activate the skill. Your opponent can't attack with battle cards with energy cost 7 or more until the start of your next main phase. So imagine if you had a way to bounce this back to your hand, right? Bounce it back to your hand, play it, or just combo it off, and then bring it back from the drop with like Shenron, Figure Majesty, or something similar to that. And then you can just always make sure your opponent's 7 cost and higher battle cards cannot attack. So it's kind of like a Dirty Burst. So, but it's in a battle card form. So this was Shenron Figure Majesty. It's a nice little reusable, engine to keep your opponent's, cards at bay. Just like I said, this would be useful against, Cell, for example. Because again, we're trying to prevent them from attacking with stuff. This would be useful against a GT. This would be useful against other decks, Gogeta decks. Like the 8-drop boarding Gogeta and the 10-drop. It's good against them, but not the 6-drop Gogeta stuff, obviously. But thinking about the 6-drop, if people are playing the 6-drop Gogeta stuff with what's that deck? Is it a Trunks? Yeah, God Trunks deck or something like that. Anyway, stuff like this, like Shroom and Salsa, will be useful for slowing them down. Just some, little 1-drop tech cards you can look into. Now let's see, what's this one? When you play this card, your opponent may choose one card from the hand and send it to their warp. If they don't, choose up to one of your opponent's leader cards in rest mode, or up to one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost 4 or less in rest mode, and they can't attack until the end of the next turn. So another potential tech card, obviously. You can obviously play it. And this one is played, not from the hand, so you can obviously play this from your drop with like Shenron Figure Majesty, for example. And ironically, you could play this in a, what was it called, deck. You could play this with Assemble the Squad in a Shenron deck, because it does have less than 15k power and it's a 2-drop. So you play, and then your opponent may choose one card from the hand and send it to warp, which would be nice if they do that, right? But if they don't, then you have the ability to choose one of your opponent's leader cards or 4 cards or less battle card in rest mode and make it where it can't attack in the next turns. And obviously this would be really good to use on, ideally you want your opponent not to warp a card from the hand, right? And then you use this on your opponent's leader card. That way it that way your opponent's leader can't attack, right? So that way every other turn they'll be able to attack. So that's one less attack you have to worry about blocking. Also, that would cut your opponent's draw power, right? Because most leaders, draw on the swing, right? So, and if the leader, has some type of powerful effect that, like for example, a good leader this would be good against to slow down would be the Trunkjita leader, because when it swings, it has the ability to what's it called? The ability to play 1-drop, and it's part of their little reusable engine. So slowing them down in that regards will be useful using this. Drip Coup, especially unison decks, right? If you're having a problem with Drip Coup and stuff like that, and I think Cooler also does the same thing. It attacks it and then it triggers to play unison, right? This can help you stop them for a turn. So this will make it where they can't, attack you the next turn, right? And then start dropping more unisons to the leader effect, right? So this will be a way to slow down leaders that have that type of effect of getting something for attacking. So you can take advantage of that. So something to look into, something to consider. I remember my friend showing me this card because he pulled it from his tournament pack, and I looked at it and I'm like, this has potential. And then we got this Goten challenging the Demon God. Auto, when you play this card, choose up to 3 cards on top of your deck and warp it. Obviously, we won't do that unless you want to, in case you're trying to do some deck thinning or something. Or you just need some cards in your warp to to trigger an effect or something. But the main use for this card is the active battle ability that once per turn, Spirit Boost 1. This card gains critical for the turn. In case you want to crit your opponent. So that instead of, especially if you're doing crit and then you give it double strike with like Champa or Supreme Kai, and then that way you can make sure your opponent's not gaining no card advantage every time you deal them damage. So it was just an idea. Definitely want to look into more black cards that have crit, so that way you can try to incorporate crit attackers into your Hatchhyack deck, so that way it helps you deal your opponent damage, obviously, but without giving them card advantage, which is always what you want, not to give your opponent card advantage. Then we have a couple other cards, that could be of interest, especially if you can turn them into like an engine, like this Robelu. She has the auto that once per turn when you activate Overwhelm, draw a card. So you Overwhelm, draw a card. So she could be a draw engine, right? So if you can do some type of recycling Overwhelm thing where you can Overwhelm every turn, so you can guarantee you can Overwhelm every turn, then you'll get to draw for her. So you could draw for your leader swing, right? You could draw for her, and you could draw for like your unison if you have the Bardic unison. So that's potentially 3 draws a turn. So something to consider. And she's a 3-drop. Most of these cards you see they're 3 drops, so kind of works with the keeping 3 or less energy concept. And then this, of course, he has Overwhelm 3. She even has Overwhelm 3, so of course she can trigger her own effect. This Demigra has Overwhelm 3. He has the auto once per turn when you activate to Overwhelm. Your opponent chooses one of their battle cards and sends it to the owner's warp. So it's actually you don't get to choose, right? But that'll make it really strong. But at least this is a way to help reduce your opponent's board. All you have to do is just obviously Overwhelm. So this is so you can do is Overwhelm something, right? And since both effects of this and the card you Overwhelm will trigger, especially if it's a what is it, like the Vegeta? There's a Vegeta that when you Overwhelm, it lets you warp one of your opponent's battle cards. So what you do is your warp, obviously you'll warp a battle card. Let's say they have 2 battle cards. Obviously you'll warp one and they have to warp the other one. So that kind of stuff. That way you can get rid of 2 cards just for overwhelming. So just something to consider. This demon god Devora skill Hunter. Auto limit 1 when this card attacks, draw a card. So he's a draw engine in himself, and he's a 20k body. So him along with the leader as well as with unison, you could be drawing 3 cards every turn. So definitely something to look into. The fact that he draws when he swings. So 20k draw, 20k the draws is always good. Another good thing about him is that he has the active main for 1 black energy if your opponent has a skillless battle card or a unison card in play. Play this card from your hand. So hopefully that just means any unison. Doesn't matter, because I hope it's not like the unison has to be skillless, because there pretty much is no skillless unisons in this game at the moment, right? I keep hearing something about skillless unisons, but anyway, hopefully your opponent just has to have a unison, and then you can remember tokens are skillless, so keep that in mind. So if you go up against a deck that generates tokens, you can literally play this bad boy out for just 1 energy. So a 20k buy for 1 energy that you can when it attacks you draw. So it's definitely something worth looking into. And it's always good to save energy on playing stuff, because you can use the energy for negates, right? For your Oceanist. And then your Oceanist protects him, and then he helps you get more card advantage and just keep on going, right? And then we have this Demon God Shroom, which back then there's one more. So well he's 15k crit, so that's part of why he's here. Is the fact that he's crit, which just remind me there is a black crit battle card from back in the day. What's her name? Shushu? Oh, Haru. There you go. The 3-drop Haru. She's pretty good, especially if you go up against like green and yellow. I think it was. Yeah, green and yellow leaders. So if you go up against Cell, Should be useful because she'll let you untap, up to 4 energy. So you can pay 3, play her, and then untap the 3, and still have energy to. So you can put a 15k on the body, on board, and still have energy to make other plays. But she's a 15k, which is always good. With crit, so you can take advantage of the whole crit damage thing. So he has crit, and he has the spirit boost. Choose one of your skillless battle cards and remove from the game. When this card attacks, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost 4 or less, ignoring barrier, and send it to the zone's warp. Right. So obviously, if you play skillless cards like Goku Zeno and Vegeta Zeno skillless battle cards, you can obviously use them as materials to bring out Gogeta, the 8 drop and the 10 drop, but you can also obviously use them to trigger this card's effect. Plus you have to spirit boost in order to obviously send the skillless battle cards to the warp in order to trigger this effect, but it's the fact that it ignores barrier and sends a battle card to warp, so it's just something to look into, because it's always good to find stuff that ignores barrier. Obviously, we got what's his name? The 4 drop, not 4 drop, 1 drop, Akami Unified or something like that, and he does 4 cost or less, ignoring barrier. But I think your opponent has to have 4 more cards in order to do that. At least this, you just gotta warp one of your skillless battle cards and spirit boost 1. And then, of course, attack in order to trigger this card's effect. But it's something to consider, to look into. And that's all this really is. Just some stuff to look into, stuff to consider. It's like, okay, these had some good effects. These might be good, at least side deck cards, maybe tech cards, maybe one-ofs, whatever, you want to experiment. To each their own. Just wanted to point out what these cards, look like and are and whatnot, and the potential. I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of people like to use this Demon God Deborah just because it's a cheap 20k draw engine right there. It being a 20k buy is going to make it hard to take down, right? Because you can easily combo 5k to keep it on board. So that means you can use like 4-star ball or something and easily keep this on board, and then keep swinging with this draw, swing with the leader draw, unison, right? Swing with the unison draw. So you'd be drawing 3 cards a turn. Right, and that's always good to have draw power. So, and then of course these 1 drops here definitely have some potential that you can experiment with and have fun with. And that's the end of the video.